Hello and welcome to another painting live stream. I have my truck to finish off that I started 2 weeks ago, I think. I got a lot of spots down, but I didn't get much of anything else done. Spent 2 hours putting all of these spots in all the way over. Now, I know that this effect will come together in the very next step, because I've done this technique a couple of times. For example, here is an auxiliary tractor that has much more muted effect there, but all of these spots are very much the same as what I've done here. The difference is a wash. So it is a mix of black and brown, so it's a very dark brown, effectively wash. And what that does is it tints all of the colours from the spots that I've put down. So the greys, the oranges, the blacks, the greens. It tints them all to be much closer together. And so it doesn't look so much like spots as patches of mixed colour. If you look closely, you can of course still see the spots in various places, but from the gaming table distance of 1 meter, where this is mostly going to be viewed from, it is an effect that that just about looks good at that distance. I also have something else that I've painted off stream. It is a little bike. Now you'll notice that the green here is very, very different between these two. And that's because I've run out of the base green. I use a spray paint green for all of this, and then spots and wash, and it ends up looking like this. But I've run out of that green, and so for this one, it got primed in tan, which is this light colour. And yeah, I've used a different green, and it's got a lot more blue in it. It's a bit richer as well, whereas this is, particularly if you see it here, very desaturated green. So I might have to work on a little bit of paint mixing to get that to look a little closer, or I just accept that my bikes are going to be a slightly different green, which is probably fine, because I've only got the bikes to do now in this style. Everything else that's this style is done, except for the truck. I also have somewhere around here allegedly, yeah. Do I have it? Ah, interesting. I appear to have misplaced it. Ah, Foxmitz is back. Littlest cultist wanted to summon some lesser gods before bedtime. Well, that is their prerogative, I guess. This is what I was looking for. Looks like a box. And that is because it is in fact a wooden box. It is of course 3D printed, but it's representing a wooden box. And I've started painting this. I need to do all of the braces here need to be painted in metallics, or rather non-metallic metal. And I've glued some section of sprue to this so that I can just press it into place. And there we go, cargo truck. But that is removable so that I can change it to the alternate versions. And it holds in place, not if I knock it. It holds in place well enough. It's not magnetized, it's not clipped in place, but it's just a friction fit with the those sections of sprue. So that's another thing I need to get done today. But first, let's get this washed down because this truck is going to end up looking like this artillery tractor in a very short length of time. And all it's going to take is the brown wash. And it's going to hide all these spots, and it's going to tint everything. And you still get a lot of variation, but it ties it together much more subtly. And so, with my custom dark brown wash, which you can't read the label of, but well, it's a good job I checked, because that says black. And this says dark brown, so the lids are the wrong way around. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell the difference. Yeah. See, when I first made these washes up, I thought that I'd probably only ever use the brown and there was no point making black. But given that I made them both at the same time, and they're both essentially at the same level, yeah, I guess they both have their uses. It just depends on what that use might be. But for the moment, let's get the actual use of this brown wash down. I'm going to need a fair amount of it. In fact, I might even need to refill the bottle. Let's start off in this section here. I might actually just do half of that for the moment and let it dry at least a little bit while we go around, because that'll then let us directly compare it. Just when I was finishing up the painting from the last stream, I've added in quite a few lines, as well as the "Hey Nick, how you doing?" as well as the spots. So on the roof here, you might be able to tell some streaks. I've put those on the bonnet, on the fenders, wheelhouses, and over quite a lot of it. Hopefully that will be fairly subtle once the wash is dried on, but we shall see. Less of an effect on camera, but it is still looking pretty good. So these kind of patches of dots are starting to come together. In comparison to where there's no wash, it's pretty harsh the way that the spots look. I'm always interested in how washes behave differently on my 3D prints in comparison to a cast model. And if I've smoothed a model, like for example if I've for an FDM print I might have solvent smoothed it, or with a resin print I might have given it a gloss clear coat and then primed over the top. That is something that helps out. Washes behave differently than if I just put them straight over a fresh print. this one, it's just about hugging the lines. It's not doing as well of a job as if this had been like a plastic model kit. But like the edge of the door here and this panel here, it's clinging to it just about, only just. I'm kind of trying to make sure I don't get too even a coat, because while I do want it, I don't want it pooling, and I don't want any thin spots. I do want some amount of variation from the wash, just a little, because that then adds to the imperfections and the worn look that I'm going for. Well, it looks like I picked up exactly the right amount of wash from the bottle when I started, because that's the whole thing done. Oh, except for our sample test piece at the back. I'm going to have to get some more wash out just for that. I shouldn't have said anything. It would have been fine if I hadn't mentioned it. There we go. That'll drop. And then we can just fill in this bit. Now this is certainly going to create a line across the back, because there'll be a part in the middle where it's had 2 layers of wash. But if I kind of use the last bits to make some pools and move it around, it shouldn't look too obvious as to exactly what's happened. Solo. Don't know what that means. Before I move on to the next part of the model, which will probably be... Oh, sod law, yeah, exactly. Before I go on to the next part, which will be the windows, because I have an interesting idea for windows that I found during the last couple of weeks, so I want to try it out on here, but I will mention that in a moment once the wash has dried. For the moment, while that's drying, I would like to mention some things that I've got I may have to move the camera. So from Warlord Games, this is Celtic Warriors for Hail Caesar, and I'm going to be making a few of these up with for my Boudica model to act as a bodyguard. Some of these will actually be going to Foxymit, so I'm going to have to get them to you somehow. I'll probably send them with Paul next time he comes down. But these will be pretty cool to do. And also, for the jet bike game that I'm making, this is for Warpath, and it also says Dead Zone, because they're 2 game systems in the same universe. I don't actually know. I think Dead Zone is like a skirmish game. I don't actually know what Warpath is. But these are Enforcer jet bikes. They're kind of the police faction. And I'm going to make up a couple of these with kind of without the guns, just as racing bikes for my game. And one of these is definitely going to Paul, because I want him to make up one as well. I don't know where the other two are going. I'll probably make them all up, just so that I've got a few models to race with. This particular box, I will be opening this next week on stream, and kind of building the models on, building one of the models on stream. So that's something you can look forward to for next week. But wait, there's one more, which is right here. And this, I'll have to get the focus on this. Please, focus. Is a Scottish Keanu Reeves. So I need to look up the information about exactly where these models are from, because these are my sister's, but she's let me have this one because it's funny. Yeah, it's like a science fiction Scot soldier that just happens to look like John Wick. So that's going to be a fun one to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this one on a live stream. I might just paint this tomorrow, to be fair, because I really want to. Yeah. There's been some questions that I've not been paying attention to. Sod's law. So is Tuesday the new day for streaming, or one day off? Yeah, Foxymits has forced the Call of Cthulhu group that I am taking part in onto Monday, which is terribly inconvenient. And so I might try a few different days. I might just do it every 8 days, so Wednesday next week, Thursday the week after, just to see how it goes. But I might just have to leave the group and keep it as Mondays, because everyone wants Mondays apparently. Still not dry. Well, I think it's dry enough. It's dry around the edges where I'm holding it, so I can probably have a good start. Now I have a plan, and the plan is very possibly a terrible plan. But I've seen a picture and I couldn't find it. I went looking for it today. I've seen a picture that I found a few weeks ago of a model with solid windows, and they painted it as a reflection of an environment. Now it was a dusty desert road because it was like a Mad Max style vehicle, which is kind of cool. But I'm going for like a muddy ground with then a fairly pale blue sky. No, don't leave the group. My hands were forced. Blame Engel. I was joking. Don't worry. Oh, I'm not leaving the group just yet. You've already burned one character. But I have a better character now. I'm an owl. And Nicholas says, hope your Boudica army ends up better than the real one. Well, they killed 2 Roman armies along the way, so it's not like they were completely ineffective. Ooh, that needs mixing. Lovely. Let's grab some of that. So my sort of plan is to paint this from the top with the lighter blue, and then kind of from the middle with a kind of bluey grey. quite a few coats to get that to look smooth. He got eaten by Engel got eaten by a giant maggot-like creature, covered in faces of those it had devoured. That just sounds like the average Call of Cthulhu game, to be honest. Yeah, this pour paint is a little on the thin side. The burning happened after you had already died. Yeah, but it still hurts. It hurt in my soul. Wet on wet painting. Yep. No idea if this is going to turn out well, but that's why I experiment and play around with new ideas, because even if it doesn't work, I'll have tried something and I will know what it does do, and what it does do might become useful for some other effect. Okay, I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer because what I've just done is washed away the first layer with the second. I wonder if this has a bit better coverage. Give it a mix first, give it a shake. When I first got this one, this kind of bluey grey, it was my favourite paint for like the next 10 projects that I worked on. And then I haven't really used it since. And that's a shame because it's such a nice kind of desaturated blue-grey. Is Engel a carry? Engel is the assistant researcher to the Ordo Redactus. Oh yeah, this has gone on. Still going to need a couple of layers, but that's gone on. Yeah, you can just about see it there. It's a little patchy still, and it's a lot thicker than the blue underneath it. I mean, it might just be that it's a second layer. That certainly helps. On this side I seem to have pulled all the water out of the brush. It's fallen in between the layer lines. Well, grid lines, not layer lines, but... Well, That's going to take a little bit of time to dry, and it's going to take several coats. So what I'll probably do is work on some other part of the model. I'll do the radiators and then I'll come back to that for another layer. Dr. Bongface, hello, how you doing? Is that 28mm scale? This is not a hero scale, this is a true scale model, and it's 1:56. And if you've heard any of my arguments about true scale versus hero scale, in 1:56 scale, true scale, a human is roughly 28mm tall. However, 28mm is not a true scale, it's a hero scale, and so if you put a true scale and hero scale person next to each other, they might be the same height, but they are not going to look anything even close to being the same. For example, here is a 32mm person, and just put the tire on the top of the base. He's probably roughly the right height, but he looks absolutely huge in comparison to what a person scaled with the truck would be. Engel is a person. I would argue that point. I would like proof in triplicate, full documentation on the personhood of an Engel. Interestingly, this black paint is pulling up some of the wash. There is a little bit of wash in this kind of ridged recess, and the black paint's pulling it back up and actually making the grill quite a lot more visible. So I'm going to call that a win, and I'm going to try and replicate it on this side. And if you see that really dark line there, I can't quite get any reflections out of it, but it looks wet still. So if I try the same thing, just dipping the tip of my brush into where the wash is just to pull it back up and have it mix with my black paint. It's kind of having a subtle effect and letting the black sit a little more like a wash would. Let's move the camera so that where I want to be is middle of frame. There we go. Yeah, that radiator looks pretty good. And we'll let it dry. It might not even need a second coat. Now, historically, this is incorrect because the radiators were painted the same color as the bodywork. But like, that's going to stop me. I want some visual interest, some differentiation of parts. And there's not enough panel lines to blackline everything, so picking out what I can. I mean, just the wash and the black radiators make this look so much better than it did at the start of the stream. So in the course of, what, half an hour? And most of that's me rambling about other things. Yeah, that's a good chunk of the way to being done. Right, let's get another layer onto these windows. Hopefully it's dried out. Yeah, I think we're there with that, with the grey now. So what I may have to do is, what I had intended, and I'll still give it a go, is that my really bright pale blue was going to kind of be the sky colour, and then my grey would be clouds. Kind of the bluey grey would be the clouds. So what I've kind of effectively done is painted the entire sky as clouds, which is not unreasonable, but I want to at least try and make it look a little cooler. And so, assuming that this is going to still be wet and take forever to dry, I think I will immediately come in with the light blue and just try and leave it around in some vaguely cloudy shapes. I believe this will need several coats. Almost can't see it at all on the camera view, and even in person it's pretty subtle still. Let's give it one coat and then let it dry, and then we'll come back for a second, and then I might decide that it's kind of maybe not worth continuing if it's going to be so subtle as to not be visible. Sort of just about see that there's patches, but it's almost looking more like it's poorly painted than it's intentional. Yeah, let's leave that for another coat. Right, the big part of the model next is the tyres, but I don't want to do the tyres until kind of very, very much at the end, because I'm pretty much just holding it by the tyres in the side here, and I'm going to just rub all the paint off. Interestingly, the radiators on the side, because it has that ridge that the wash was sitting in, they've come out really nice. Very nicely kind of lined. But at the front, not so much. Given I've got this black still. See how that looks when it's dried. A little better, certainly. what I really need to do is move this over here, so I don't have to keep reaching over to the other side of the universe, right? Right, let's go for just a little bit of some brown for the kind of muddy look. Gonna need a lot more detail to look like mud. And of course I reserve the possibility of throwing this all away and just painting it kind of dark blue with 2 lines of lighter blue on it to say it's glass, it's fine, don't worry about detail. But I at least want to try it. Trying to make sure that the top edge isn't just a straight line, but is kind of slightly rolling and curved. Does the line help? I mixed in some black with the brown and drew a line at the horizon, I guess you'd call it. Does that actually make it look better than that? I think yes it does. I think that black line does help a lot. So let's go on the assumption that it does help. And let's don't want it to be too strong. I think that does help rather a lot. Still needs a lot more, and that's fine. We've got an hour and a bit for plenty more. That has dried up on the front radiator there. You know what? Let's go overkill mode and just drop a black wash on that front radiator. Side radiators look absolutely spot on, just as they are. They look great in person and on the camera, actually, which is rare. Usually it looks good in one and not in the other, but they look just good, just grand in both. Just grand, good grief, how old am I? Right, let's see if I can replicate my original shape. Yeah, it's just about starting to come out on camera now. It's really, really subtle still. The question is, do I go for a third layer, or do I actually go for the clouds to paint them? Like maybe actually add in some white to the blue-grey to make them a bit, to make the contrast a bit stronger. Because it might be that my light blue and my blue-grey are just a little bit too close. Foxymit says add white to the clouds. Yeah, I think that is the next step for this, to try and actually get them visible. I mean, there's other parts of this model, there's other parts of the reflection that also need some work, like I need some variation in the hillside. Because at the moment that's just one solid colour. So, next question, how much white do I add to the clouds? Let's go with about an even mix. Still not much visibility in the differences though. I'm actually liking kind of painting the top surface of, like, around the top of where the cloud is, because that's kind of what larger clouds look like. As the light passes through them, it gets caught, and so the lower part of the cloud is generally darker. There you go, that's starting to actually show up on camera now. It's kind of a little washed out because the color balance on this camera, on this app, is a little poor. I don't get much in the way of choice. Somehow it's stronger on the... Ah, maybe it's just because of the, like, this, the roof forms a shadow. Maybe it's just letting it be more visible because of that. Just make sure I keep at least some of the blue in here and go around the tops of all of the clouds. Okay, that's starting to look really good in person. It's a little bit, it's getting closer there on the camera view. Strangely, this white is actually drying really quickly. The light blue was taking ages to dry. Like, I was having to go to different parts of the model. But the white's almost... hard to see the pattern because of the grid lines on this. Kinda looks like clouds. One thing I should draw on the reflection is a road. So let's see how much of a trapezium I can draw. And make it actually look like it's a road. There's the last little dregs of grey on my wet palette from a previous model. And I probably will need to... I mean, it's just about doing it. Does that look like the reflection of a road? I'm not convinced it does. Let's get some black into there and mix it in. Kinda, maybe a little bit. Let's try that darker again. As long as I don't drop my brush in the water. Now, see, that's too much because that's just filled in the entire thing with the lighter, with the darker grey. Trying to get some lines just to add some perspective to make it look like it's a much longer. Yeah, that's kind of more what I was thinking. Look like a road to anyone else? Kinda, not really. While we're looking at the ground, let's get some variation. I don't like that. I don't like that very much at all. Foxmith says that she can tell it's supposed to be a road. That's yeah, that's at least a start. More damned by faint praise than anything else, though. That's a little better. Okay, so I don't want to follow the contour of the line between the top of the ground and the sky, but rather make a very different okay, that's a good start. Yep, I think that is their way. This is the way. Really hard to paint it on the front because we've got these, can't really see them on the camera view, but there's three like, I assume they're windscreen wipers kind of thing, but they're embossed on the surface of the windscreen, and so I have to come in from both directions basically to paint anything. It's very subtly getting there. What else do I need? What do I need for this? I'm cheating and I'm Googling it. What does it need to look like a reflection? Trees, perhaps grass. Yeah, I was just going to greens. Well, there's my greens. I can highlight with yellow as well. Let's start off dark. And work our way up. Probably getting close to using half of my paint collection on this. That's following too much of like the same pattern I'm using for the cloud, which I really don't want to do. Yeah, that's breaking it up a bit more. So I'm just getting a different, deliberately different shapes out of it. You know, this poor green's not got much life left in it. It's not helping that the truck itself is green. Not sure if that's working how we wanted it to. Trying to get some life back out of this yellow. Yeah, there's some in there. Not much fan of this either. Yeah, that yellow doesn't work at all. Let's get rid of the yellow. So I painted some cute little trees. Hey up, Grandpa Werewolf, how you doing? Seeing the countryside roll on by the windows. Yeah, this sunburst yellow back in the Hexbot days, but also not even the later model. This is like the interim with the flip-up lid. I actually have an older pot than this. My bleach purple actually has the original design of lid, screw cap only. And that is a very nice purple, even though it's that old. It is starting to dry out though. I've tried to recover it, but I think it's kind of on the way out. There we go, that's got rid of the yellow. It's so close, and yet it's missing something. Foxy Mitz has never seen the screw cap lid. Yes, this so this pot from Games Workshop, the clear plastic hex, that has had 3 different lids over the over its history. The original was this one, then it went to this design as an interim, and it was this design for quite a long time with the flip up lid. Then they had another design of this with a different flip up lid, which I don't have an example of, and then they moved on to the round kind of modern style, which is terrible and everyone hates. Before this design, they actually had a different hex pot, which is kind of taller, slightly narrower, but it's still a hex. And the plastic was like that white frosted plastic. Let's replicate that on this side. Let's just kind of try and do the same process. And just for the sake of having it underneath, let's put some of the yellow down so that we can cover it all up. Because if nothing else, it is going to influence the color above slightly. Let's get some more trees as well. Dark brown mixed with black to make a very dark brown. So one little friendly tree over here. One closer up. Let's have a couple standing together on the hill. And one more right at the front. OMG, those leeches. Yes. So trying to throw in some of this lighter green. Yes. Maybe. Kind of. I've just had an idea. Given that I've got black on the wet palette, what I can do, I can paint the frame of the window and that will give a nice strong visual border between the reflection and the bodywork of the car, oh, the truck, sorry. So I think one thing that's causing a problem is the fact that the body of the truck is green. Oh yeah, oh that helps so much. I'm surprised that helps as much as it does. Basically, this is eyeliner for a truck. It sort of looks like a painting that's been stuck on the side of the truck more than it looks like a reflection. But at least that's better than what it was before, which is an indistinct collection of blobs. So let's do the same on this side. If my paintbrush would behave, that is. Yeah, I'm surprised at how much that helps, but it really does. Doing it to the windscreen is going to be a lot more difficult because of everything in the universe being in the way, but let's see what we can do. Of course, I haven't painted any of the greenery yet on the front. Could have been painting a truck, the old infinitely receding Hall of Mirrors trick. Need a bigger mini for that. Huh. How would you paint that? That's genuinely an interesting concept. Painting in a Hall of Mirrors. That's the type of thing where you're really stuck directionally. There's this common thing going around that whenever you paint non-metallic metal that you're stuck viewing it from the same angle, which isn't necessarily true because there are different ways of painting non-metallic metal that aren't directional. But to paint a solid reflection, particularly a reflection of an object that's being reflected, yeah, and then painting it multiple times, each one offset from the previous. That's genuinely an interesting concept. Ah, that's a problem. Not much of a problem. The windscreen wiper on the right hand side is misprinted. It's got a great big gouge out of it from part of the failed print. Strangely, that, even without the greenery, this is really coming along nicely. But yeah, with the border and even without the greenery, that still looks pretty good. So what have we learned here, kids? Eyeliner makes everyone look better, including trucks. ED-SKaR's message of the day. Alright. There's some yellow down. Let's get some... Nope, let's get some brown for the trees. So I painted some tiny little ones on the horizon that should be visible and make it look like they're far away, and then some bigger ones in the foreground. Alright, let's go. I'm going to have to remove one of these trees because the windscreen wiper there just makes it look like it's a wonky tree. Which isn't the look I'm going for. I want the eyeliner. Works for Tim Curry and Lau Reed. Works for your truck. I don't know who Tim Curry and Lau Reed are. I think I might know who Tim Curry is. Let's grab a bit more of that light green. What I'll also do is just drop a little more water in here while I've got the green, because there's not much life left in that. There's a mixing bowl in there already. But yeah, it's kind of a mostly dry paste. Yeah. Just going to put some of the paints back because I'm running out of room down here. Can I do something more to the road? would I be capable of painting in road markings on this road? Let's give that a go. That's ambitious, because that's not a kind of a blob that can sort of be any size like a tree. Road markings have to be kind of fairly specific. Oh, oh yes, that worked. Not so good on that side, but I think with a bit of grey to separate it out. Yeah, I think it's not perfectly symmetrical. Hey, that's it. It needed white lines and a black border. Either that or I've just been staring at it so long that I've kind of fallen into it. And it's like the craziness of looking at something and seeing something that isn't there. You know what? All told, given how I thought it would look, it looks better than I thought it would look when I first decided to try this technique. That's yeah, not bad. Right. So we had some gouges on here from the print. Here. Constantly drifting out of frame. Kind of here. And about here. So if I just white line those. Because that then puts the image kind of behind the reflection, or behind the glass, as it were, reflected. That, as subtle as it is, has helped. So let's do the same on the other side. Let's give it with something in the foreground covering up some of the detail. Yeah. Now, do I go diagonal or straight? Pretty sure it's going to have to be diagonal. Which way? I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it over that tree that's still causing me problems. we gone? That one sort of lines up with the road a bit. So it looks too clean of a reflection. It looks like a mirror would reflect like this. A window probably wouldn't reflect this clearly. Not that it's a particularly clear image. But it would all be tinted by the inside of the cab, which would be fairly dark. And where I'm going with this is, do I mix up a grey wash and cover the whole windscreen with a grey wash? There's sort of no going back on that. Well, just short of repainting the entire thing. Yeah, I want to give that a try. Let's get just on my wet palette here. I'm grabbing some water, some white, and then I've still got some of this black wash from earlier. And that makes it grey. Kind of looks like a dirty window, which honestly works. Yeah, right then. I'm actually going to have to make a bit more. Let's grab some of that white and a bit of water. For some reason, this side of the this side window looks just more layered. It's all off of the same print, and it's from the same. Like the two windows are at the same angle because it was printed like this. So the two windows are printed at the same angle, and yet this is like the layer lines are there, but they're fairly smooth. And this one is quite strong in the layer lines. Like putting a wash over it makes it look stripy. I wonder if I grab some brown wash. Whoop, that's loads. And just run the brown wash along the bottom. hopefully that'll settle. And look like the dirt coming up from the, or kind of the dirt settling in there, the bottom of the window. That's looking really good in person. It's kind of looking pretty good in the camera view as well. Nice. Hey, look, botulism. Ah, thank you for 5 minutes. Just as I saw it. You know what? I think I'm happy with that. I think that is quite what I set out to achieve. I've just noticed there's a bit down here that's... Oh. That's actually bare resin. Oh well, it's got the wrong green in it. Let's have a go at, like I said, for the bikes they need a new green. Or I can just paint it darker and then it looks like a shadow. This front grille refuses to behave. How about these side grills? Came out perfectly with just one go with the black, but then the front, just not happy. Which one's the wash? That one's the wash. So it really is just the tyres to go. And we've got 20 minutes. I'll fiddle with the tyres a bit. Let's also get the headlamps. Please, paint. Please behave, paint. Yeah, rubbish headlights. Where was the black paint? It was there. Probably not enough for all of the tyres. Next question, and I think this is pretty much the last question for this this particular vehicle, or at least the truck body section of it. And I need some more black. As I'm doing the wheels, do I do the hubcaps, the rims, in the realistic style, which would be the green, same as the body? Or do I punish myself for being so, I don't know, something, and paint them non-metallic metal? Given that my BA64 has non-metallic rims and they came out pretty poorly, to be honest. They're kind of messy. My T20 came out really nicely with the tracks being non-metallics. Dr. Bungface says, do like the reflection effect. Thank you. It's taken only like an hour and a half to do it. Yeah, we sort of kind of made it up as we went along, and ended up at an effect that kind of does look quite interesting. It's not necessarily perfectly realistic, it's a little bit more of a cartoony style, but that's okay. Ugh. I should not have glued the wheels on before painting them, because that is not enough space to put a paintbrush. I mean, clearly the underside doesn't need... Foxmit says green and then splatter with mud, and Grandpa Werewolf says rims to match the truck, which would also be green. Yeah, okay. I think we're unanimous on that decision then. As for the mud, I am... Do I have any nearby? Nope, but I have the stirring stick. So for this whole army, they're getting a mud effect that is essentially PVA glue, flour, and some craft paint that we got a little while ago. And when I do the next batch, not only am I doing all the bases, I'm going to splat some over the vehicles as well. Particularly kind of, where is it? That back wheel there is an awful mess because it misprinted. And same on the front of the tracks here, they're kind of just a bit of chunky rubbish. So covering them with mud will hide all of that. Although we will spend the next 6 weeks painting these tyres. I'm even using this biggest brush. I'm honestly not impressed by this brush. The size of it's great. It's a size 6, so it's absolutely huge in comparison to what the average mini painter is using. But it is a synthetic, and so paint just doesn't want to flow off of it as smoothly as with a real hairbrush like a Sable. Now, a Sable brush of this size would be very, very expensive. And there are many things on my to-buy list long before a size 6 sable hairbrush. But it would be a nice thing to have. I mean, I can complain all I want, but I've done that freehand with a size 6 brush. so it can't be that bad. Oh, I'm working out of my focal range. Yeah. Where is the focal range? Yeah, it's about there. Sorry, I'm just beating up the microphone because it happens to be where my brush wants to go. Because this is just fiddly and annoying, and I wish I'd have kept the wheels separate. But no, I had to glue them on. Such things. Yeah, I'm not going to get all the way in, but I will try and get as much as I can. Yeah, I think that's about as good as it gets. I'm just kind of getting paint in the same place and not getting any deeper. You can just about see the top of the tire, but yeah, to get the brush in there, it's at a different angle, and that's not helpful. Well, actually, while I'm here, if I'm going to be doing these in the same style as the rest of the truck, let's get some of the black spots done. And these at the back are even worse because they're double tires. Did I? What's my focus playing at? Grandpa Werewolf says, yes, typical to discover something should have been painted sub-assembly after it's glued on. Yeah. There have been many times, many times, where I rip off a part of a model and paint it separately and then glue it back on. Usually only with plastic models, because polycement, when you tear a polycement joint, it's fairly easy to clean up and then glue it back on. If you're using a metal model, particularly if it's been super glued, like a metal or resin model, you shatter the super glue and that takes a lot of work to clean that up and make it re-gluable. Re-gluable, is that a thing? Whatever the appropriate word for that sentence would be. So oddly, these wheels, they have 3 bolts that are not evenly spaced. There's like 2 close together, and then the third one is like opposite the gap. I would expect them to be more evenly spaced, but they're not. Weird. Has any of the last like 10 minutes been in focus? Because I'm not sure what my camera's playing at. Let's try just lifting it, because then I can focus here and I can have a larger depth of field. Yeah, so about there's my depth of field. That's how much I've got to play with. Not a lot. Let the brush dry out. All this paint's going to just come straight off the bottom of these wheels, because I did not prime it upside down, so there's no primer on the bottom at all, and that includes the wheels. But I'll at least put it on. If anyone has any topic of discussion for the last little section of the stream, go right ahead. Discuss what it is that you're making at home, or anything else that's happening. Oh, that's a pretty bad print failure there through that wheel. Right there. Yeah. Once it's painted, it shouldn't be too visible. Hopefully. Need some more black paint. Foxy Mitts is knitting a very fluffy dog. How big is said knitted dog? Are we talking like hand sized? Are we talking like small child size? Are we talking like a real full size, like 200 pound? Why did I default to pounds? I didn't even know how much a pound is in weight terms. Probably because I was being sarcastic. Sarcastic? Me? Never. Approximate height is 24 centimeters. Yeah, that's a decent plushie size. Well, it'll be knitted, but in terms of size. One kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. So 200. What did I say? 200 pounds. So that would be 82 kilograms. I mean, that's actually a medium-sized dog. So. Yeah. Even though I don't ever use that unit of measurement, I came up with a reasonable value. Trying to get that in a tire and it's just not happening. Right, so now with the tyres done, I can just put on brown, orange and silver spots onto the rims, or kind of hubcap things, and then a wash and it's done, which will only take a few moments. So if anyone wants to ask any questions for me to answer before the end of the stream, you have a couple of minutes to do so. And what are we at? We're just after 9 now, so that's a decent 2 hours. I have an Inquisition conversion model based off. Oh, I think I've missed some conversation here. Here's me saying, hey, why don't you ask some questions? And you're already asking questions. I'm not paying attention to them. So that's my fault. So Grandpa Werewolf first, finishing up painting, basing a pair of greater Narlocks of the baggage variety. Less time now whilst working. Got hands on Tau Codex over the weekend. Yoinks, massive update. And Dr. Wongface says, have an Inquisition model conversion based off of, and then ends in the middle of a sentence. Foximus asks, when is the next Back to the Brush? We have an episode recorded and it is currently waiting to be edited. Ratman has quite some stuff on his hands at the moment, so it will be delayed at least a little bit. If I can nag him into getting it edited, it shouldn't be too long. It should have gone up already, but because of the delay, it'll be another week or two probably. Are we planning on doing the ultra awesome, super cool, definitely the best choice of model Celts models next? I actually might assemble them on stream. They're kind of a dull model to assemble. In terms of like. The arms are already on the torsos, and the legs are all kind of the same pose, meaning that there's not a lot of variety you can get out of them. It's only really like the head choice that changes from one to the other. I'm definitely doing the jet bikes next week. The Dead Zone Enforcer jet bikes. I can probably build the. I'd want to do some painting the week after, and then I'll do building the Celts the week after that. Little heavy with the Dr. Wongface off Logan Grimnar. Right, continuation from the previous comment. Off Logan Grimnar old metal model started years ago, need to strip and paint again. What is the best solution to use on a half plastic model? So stripping models is an entire subject. We have spoken about it on Back to the Brush, and Ratman's actually pretty good at it. If you want to be really gentle, you can just get fairy power spray or some equivalent kitchen cleaner, and just like put a little bit in a cup, put the model in, and then cover it so that it doesn't dry out. Oh, I missed one. The next step would be to use a proper solvent. You have to use a solvent that obviously won't melt the plastic. And the problem with this discussion is it always turns up into, oh, well, I use this, but that's not available in my country. So I can give you some possibilities for the UK, but not necessarily for any other country in the world. Dettol, there's a particular type of Dettol, one of the standard ones that's really good at paint stripping plastic models. I've got a motorcycle cleaner that works fairly well. It's basically just soap that you put on the outside of the bike and then wipe it down. Again, that's kind of similar to the fairy power spray though. It smells the same as well. It's probably the same active chemicals. And then there's the expensive option, which is something like ED-SKaR, which is very good, and it is designed for cleaning off paint from plastic models, and so it does the job very well, but it is more expensive. Is it ED-SKaR or BioStrip? I think it might be ED-SKaR. The easy option is if it were just a metal model, because then just acetone. Acetone's everywhere. You can find that really cheap, really easy. But yeah, acetone versus plastic. No. Let's get a close-up of this. So that's it with the spots. And that's it with the brown wash. And there we go. That is pretty much the whole thing done. I need to do obviously the weapon system and the alternate kind of just open cargo bed version. I want to also have another back that will be for like one of those big canvas covered ones. But I will need to change the screen on my printer for that because it's a very big print. And I have a crack in the screen at one side. But for the moment, as soon as these are dried, the actual body of the truck is done. How about that? That was an effective use of 2 hours, or 4 hours if you include last time. Grandpa Wolf says thanks, hope to see you next time, and thank you. And thanks you to everyone else who's popped along. Thank you to Dr. Bongface, Foxymits, and everyone else who is in the chat silently. I will be appearing again at some point next week, which might be Tuesday, might be Wednesday, not sure. Building the Warpath Enforcers jet bike, because they're cool and I want them. Otherwise, check the description, check the comment section as well when this goes into a video mode. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.